then I realized just recently, aging, because I'm getting more severe, that I am an ingredient of this, a very fundamental ingredient, because my real talent, I do a lot of things more or less good, but my real talent is to have the capacity to connect with the energy of the others, especially in vulnerable, stigmatized group, and enhance this energy, relating this energy to mine, which is really endless, thanks to, this is my only gift, and it's necessary to make the things go. And when they look at me, they just look at me, and if I'm not there, if I'm not in the radar of their eyes, it's almost impossible that they make something on the street.
Sorry to interrupt very quickly, but why this condition, these two rules that it has to end in a on the street as a parade or as a protest with so many people? It's just interesting. Is it? Do you want to end in this celebratory or not large event to give enough space to maybe people who feel too vulnerable to be isolated in a 2-3 person presentation? Or what is that specific interest in this large street group?
Yeah, it's a nice question that usually nobody asks me, but it's a very nice question, because it's an explosion of adrenaline and energy that you cannot contain in a room. And definitely you cannot let it go, the entire process you have behind and what you have built with them through months of work. You cannot just let it go, finalize, and also the experience within yourself in a reduced white box. You need to show up, and you need to show up to the others, because what they are doing during the process, is not just referred to me, it's referred to the people out there. They need to show up to the others. It's not staged. Our performances, actually, I don't think are real performances, rather are rituals or something that I cannot name yet, but I'm sure one day I will find the proper name for that. But it's not a performance staged. We don't rehearse. So we make a process, we make a lot of lessons and meeting and sharing of things, but then the gathering happens just one time in front of the others as well. And it's incredible, the role of these others, the role of the no participants, the audience, because they become participants very easily. I can spot Manifesto 12 when I had already 700 performers, a lot of different people, super poor people, refugees, people with severe mental health conditions. So a lot of things. And the parade was led by blind people, so it was already a mess. And at a certain point, the audience jumped in, completely destroying, and I was super happy, I promise, completely destroying our storyline and my plan. Fantastic. And I also asked the blind people to don't care, to go to the street and lead our parade. And if they don't go exactly through the street that we got the permission for, or I envision, it would have been okay. And actually, the mother of one of our majorette was just kicked by it was involved in a car crash, and we had to change the route all the time. It was planned to last 2 hours. It was 5 hours and a half long.
It's amazing. That's amazing. And did you just a very quick question to round up, because I see we're running out of time, and I would love to quickly ask the other ones a short question as well before we end. Just quickly, is there a feedback round to once this is all over? Is there a moment where after these processions happened that you actively get feedback, or does that just naturally come, or do you organize this?
We don't
No?
debrief really,
No.
but I receive feedback all the time during the process. And usually my big response is the fact that people are still together, even for other projects, or they come back to the School of Narrative Dance in other places if they can.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much. Fascinating. And I would love to just jump to Koki for a question, because there's just nice parallels between these vulnerable existences and histories. And you mentioned this in your work as well. And, you know, and you also speak about the collective acts, you know. Would you mind just saying a few words about this sort of codependence between vulnerable histories and collective acts?
Okay, so the vulnerable histories is individual work, right? And the collective acts is a series of actions referring to the disaster in Japan, 2011, the triple disaster of the tsunami, earthquake, and the nuclear disaster. So for the collective acts, I pick up sort of like a different like numbers or actions or ideas from the news of the disaster. Like there was a moment that the people gather and walk back their home from city center to their home in Tokyo after the earthquake, because all the public transportation didn't work. So they walk back their home by foot, I don't know, 7 hours or something. So I recreate this moment of the night walk with the participants to, let's say, more like a fun way to recreate. Then afterwards, we discuss about the experiences. Because I didn't experience the disaster in Japan. So I was in Los Angeles. So it was like distance. So how to, one of my questions is like how to overcome this distance, or how do we understand someone else's experience of pain by our own? So that's the kind of a main like idea about because the project was at the end showing in Venice, which is far away from Japan. Like no one really knows about like, of course they know the images of the disaster, but they don't, I mean, some of them might care, but they don't really care about it. So the recreation of this performance was people walking at night with flashlights.
Yes, and they didn't speak. They just walked. And
yeah, they just walked. No, I just take a few photographs because I don't want to involve the film shooting another time. So I just like we just walk. Then at the end we gather at the small alternative organization. Then we just discuss about or they actually told me about the experience of the day of the disaster. So I try to, let's say, because like I know that you somehow compare the vulnerable histories as a more like a personal historical event, referring to the personal historical event, but collective act is more like corrective actions to some disaster moment or something. But actually most of the idea is somehow, for me, it's the same way that how the local issue transfer to the other places like global or international or inter community different places in a way. So back to the question of how we can understand someone else's pain as by our own. So that's the kind of like main topic. But after, like, sorry, I'm just quickly talking about this idea of the abstraction and the individual concreteness in a way, because this is also referring to this vulnerability and corrective acts. Because after the pandemic, I feel like everywhere, the like a planetary level, everyone shared one single, let's say, like issue, like the COVID pandemic, right? So people are in a way standardized like skipping all the local issues, but we have to keep distance, I don't know, 2 meters or 1 meter and 50 or something like that. So I feels like this kind of like it's a kind of like a fascism around the world. So against this idea of the singularness, we have to more back to the like a local issue, like an individual concreteness. So like my individual concreteness is more like a childcare, because like I got the baby 2020. So my kids in the very beginning, she only saw our faces with mask. Like me, my wife is without mask, but when she go to the daycare, everyone wear the mask. So she like dealing with the child care is kind of like a very important for me. So I try not to, let's say, do something further on about like racism or global issue, but individual concreteness. So I think this is also linked to our idea of this today's conversation about the community or our individual practices. So
also I like what you said about individual concreteness, and also when you speak of abstraction in terms of something that's also farther away or a concept and the reality. And I think COVID, as you said, really connected us all very real. And thank you for these thoughts. This actually is a nice quick bridge to Anna still, because I thank you so much. You sent me your newest catalog that you just are publishing with Sternberg Press, and you made a catalog during the pandemic, and it looks like a very beautiful work. Can you just say a few words to this about this publication? Because it's a large publication with basically watercolor drawings with texts describing what's on it, right? Can you say a few things about the work?
Of course, it's a series of watercolors that I started doing during the pandemic as a way to kind of overcome a lot of the impossibilities of doing stuff. And watercolor is very, very spontaneous and very precise. So it really lends itself to again, to kind of go back to this thing of the meme, you know, to combine text and image in a very effective, spontaneous way. And I think it's also, I really love watercolor because it has, of course, this connection to natural history and natural science and close observation of the environment. So it was a really wonderful way to stay sane, to stay connected. And a lot of the works are actually responses to conversations or podcasts, or so again, this idea of storytelling comes back. And I'm really happy because I think it's a book that is actually great for a 4-year-old, for a 40-year-old, for a art connoisseur. It's very open, and I'm very happy about that. So.
Yes, I guess I saw some images. I guess there's a certain sensuality in it because it's very personal. And at the same time, we can all connect because they're universal objects. You know that It reminds me of another exhibition that Koki did in Taipei Biennial, but we're unfortunately running out of time. It's soon time to wrap up. So. Yeah, no, thank you. And I just would love to keep talking. I don't know. It's so much else still to speak about, but I don't know if any of you are curious to ask each other a burning question after.
Well, I wanted to just add one thing, because you were, Augustas, you were talking about relationships that you force. And then both Koki and Marinella were talking about, I think there's also this element of seducing into relationships, right? Where we kind of use our gifts, as you were saying, Marinella, to like draw people in. And again, I think this is sort of a very contagious, right, element to relating to others and getting projects off the ground.
We don't hear you.
Yeah, I just want, I mean, I think sometimes it's like you it's just where our structure, our, like, how to say, society is like built like that. Like when you come, for example, I don't know, me often I find myself like when I go as an artist, or whatever I could call, I don't know, they call me, like to develop like a project, like you always sort of bring with this aura of like, I don't know, institution behind you, or this sort of whatever, like, I don't know, some BO with you, like exhibitions, or I mean, and people are sort of like, they're willing, then it's not like you enter completely, it's always has this, whenever you approach this sort of like, even if it's not like related to the whatever art field, like, but related just like, I don't know, you are like let's say a person who, how to call, like just work with community, like a sort of like a day, I don't know, care guy who goes to elderly people, let's say, and it's still, you go under this, then even like you are, they like you are an employee then, sort of thing, and having that in mind is like kind of, you never, I mean, and it's not either good or bad thing, but I kind of in a way maybe had a bit of in mind that as well, like that when I come to the people, and I usually, of course, you talk with them, with those who are willing to talk, I know that there is also sort of with time, as more you do, as more people get to know you, it's sort of this how to say, you bring with I mean, it's yeah, I don't know, I guess you get what I want to say, like there is you bring with yourself like this also then aura.
You create a certain energy for sure, and I think as Marinella, to borrow a word that Marinella used before, I think you are all activators of sorts, obviously, and I think you obviously through your own vision and experience and muse, you apply obviously different tones and notes to it, but I think it's beautiful to see how, yeah, the range of work you're all doing. So I think I would like to thank you at this point for this very nice conversation we could have early morning, afternoon with all of you. And we didn't now use any images, but I think for the online presentation, this can probably be fed in so that people that look at the recording can see a bit more our visual references. Thank you very much, everybody. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you.
And have a nice day. Yeah. Bye-bye.